If your clutch line keeps popping out, then this video's for you. Or if maybe you're trying to upgrade your clutch line to a maybe braided stainless steel one, then this will also work in your application. Alright, so my original issue was whenever I did my clutch slave cylinder, I actually had the issue where my line kept popping off and wouldn't stay locked in how it's supposed to. I tried bending the prongs and everything on the clip that's inside of it, and it did not do anything. So I just resorted to doing a complete hardline swap. And this is pretty much going to show you what you need. I also have all the parts that are needed and the modifications. And I do want to apologize if the videos are kind of long or cut short or not too clear, because I kind of took this in sections as I was working on the vehicle and it was already hot as hell outside. So I was kind of baked and dirty, and I just was trying to get it done as fast as possible. With it being my first time ever dealing with this kind of crap, it was just kind of stressful. Alright, so for your parts, you're going to need a roll pin to 3-and fitting. This is actually the exact one that I bought. You also want to get a 40-inch line, and you also want to make sure that it's a PTFE line, or else the actual brake fluid will start eating it. And again, this is the same exact line that I ordered. So go ahead and order these two things. Alright, so here's a good example. The new slave cylinder. I'm pretty much gonna be converting it. So basically, you'll have to remove this dial pin that's in here, and what I found useful, I'm not sure what size this is, but it's an Allen key. It's pretty small. It's just an Allen key. You set it on there. It's pretty long enough to give me clearance up here. And you grab yourself a hammer, and in my case, I'm using a set of pliers, and just tap it. Pushes right out. Check that out. You can see it down there coming out. Here, I'll be tapping it out. There it goes. And then you slide your Allen key back out. Make sure you do not lose this piece, because it's very, very important. So make sure you set it somewhere where you won't lose it. And then you just slide this guy out. And make sure that when you slide it out, you also slide out the actual gasket, because it normally likes to stay stuck in there. The issue is when you install this, it hits right here already, which is where you tighten it, right, to this. So what I did is I already made sure that this is completely tight as much as it can be, and now I'm just gonna cut right there to that line where I showed you guys. Right here, this little square, that line, boom, a straight cut, and then come above and cut it, and pretty much it'll give you the cut that you need to be able to install this in there. I cut it right here on this line, straight across, and what I used was a Dremel with like a disc kind of thing, this guy right here, and it worked perfectly fine. Just make sure that any of the cuttings and stuff don't go inside the where your actual fitting goes in, and you push it inside the slave. You have to make sure that you get all that stuff out, clean it out. Okay, so now that it's cut, I can show you guys how now the actual fitting goes all the way in there. You should just be able to wobble it in, and it'll slide right in. And you see how there's clearance now, doesn't even touch, nowhere, and it free spins in there like nothing. Then you just go ahead and set your dial pin back in, the same way you pulled it out. Slide it from the top. Okay, so there you go. Dowel pin's in there. And you see that? Really nice and clean. It's supposed to spin in there. As long as you tug it and it doesn't come out, you're good to go. Okay, and pretty much now, since you have this portion done, all you have to do is connect this portion up at your clutch master cylinder. Okay, and you can, I'd say it'd be easier if you just take your fitting, your AN3 fitting, right? You just take it like this. It's going to be same concept. It's going to be driven by or held in by a dowel pin, and you're going to knock it out. You're going to have to find something to knock that out with. Probably this could be useful as well, but I mean, I don't know. You can either take out your clutch master cylinder, or you could try to do it right there on the spot where it's at without having to take out and mess with your pedals and any of that stuff. I'm gonna try it out right now and see what I find best. I'm probably gonna try first hitting it from the side of the truck, probably taking my splash shield and see if I can reach it, or maybe up top. I'm not sure. I'll figure it out. I would honestly suggest to remove your whole entire master slave cylinder. It makes things way easier, guys. So check this out. I came up with this contraption after finagling and like doing all kinds of crazy stuff with it. I couldn't get it to come off, so I ended up just taking out the whole entire thing. You definitely want to look up a video on how to do that, but pretty much I came up with this idea of thinking about how if I ever drop the transmission, where am I going to undo the line if the line's inside the bell housing, pretty much. Okay, so I was thinking about that while I was doing all of this, and I was also thinking about how every time I'll undo anything, it's going to have to be from this part, because the other part's going to be inside the bell housing as well. So is there any way that I could make it a quick release? Well, yes, and I found the exact perfect parts that I think would definitely work with this kind of application, make it kind of like a quick release. So your dial pin is an issue. Whenever your thing's sitting in there, it's like this at an angle right up here. This upper section right here sits right underneath the brake booster, and the bottom side sits pointing towards the firewall. And this is exactly why I removed the whole entire clutch master cylinder, because of that issue of not having space. So by removing it, I pulled it out entirely, and I still had the lines attached and everything, except for I took off the actual reservoir line, and I only had the clutch line, pulled it all the way down, and punched out that pin, and it let me take out the whole assembly like that. So there's no way to put like anything to hammer out that dial pin, and I feel like it would definitely be a pain in the ass every time you drop your transmission and you have to take off the dial pin. Which means you won't have enough space again, and you'll have to drop out the whole entire master cylinder. So I was thinking about what can I use to replace that, and so I came up with this idea of measuring this along with the drill bit of my drill. But then I saw that if I put this drill in here, it would slide all the way through. So just make sure you get something that's tapered or has some sort of stopper, and it slides right in. Slides all the way in through, and you got plenty of it sitting out here. And so that pretty much fixes your issue. You ever have to take out your transmission, all you do is you just slide this piece out, and it should stay in there, because this stays at an angle like that, so gravity itself will keep it in there, unless you flip your truck or some dumb shit, but I mean, that's on you. So I think this will work, and then you just take it out, and then you can literally just slide your fitting out entirely, and that's your quick release setup, you know. That's it. But I really like this. Make sure that when you took out your line, make sure your gasket that's on the other line that looks like this is not stuck in there. Make sure you fish it out with a toothpick or something. You take it out so that you can slide your new fitting in. Once you slide it all the way in, you slide your new locking pin, which is going to be replacing your dial pin, and that's it. You're done. you go ahead and install it back on the truck, and you tie it on here. You put your line on here, and you grab two of the crescents, you tighten them, and that's it. You don't ever have to touch this. You'll just only slide this out if you want to take your transmission out, and your whole line will be out. I've got the line, the slave cylinder installed with the new fitting that we installed the dial pin in, and from that fitting it goes to a 3N line, and that 3AN line, you feed it through where your normal plug deal would go, and you feed it out all the way out, and just have it hanging. And remember, because of what I told you guys about the quick release system up there, you're just gonna hook up your transmission, put it back in, seal the deal, and then just feed the line back up and do the quick release setup up there. Just slide in the end pretty much and put that pin, and then you should be good to bleeding it. That's it. This is extra information about the bleeding procedure. With that being said, you're going to need a bleeding setup to be able to bleed the whole entire system, because you introduced a lot of air. And for me personally, what worked good enough was a Harbor Freight kit, which was about $30. Here's a picture of it. And you're also going to need this one tip only. So now just look up a video on how to set it up, and once you're ready for that, you're ready to go. With all the lines completely connected, coming from the clutch slave cylinder all the way up to the actual clutch pedal and all that entire stuff, everything just being completely plugged in, you're gonna do your next move, and I'm about to show you this picture. Okay, so everything is installed, and what you're pretty much going to be doing is, at your reservoir, you're going to empty it. You're going to have it full of fluid, right? You're going to put fluid all inside your whole system, and honestly, it'd be best if you crack your little purging valve right at the bottom until you start seeing consistent fluid coming in. Make sure you're not bringing in any air. You're not letting that reservoir run dry, and whenever you see that there's steady fluid coming out, then you shut that off, you cut the fluid, then you go up top, and with that pump, you pump out whatever's in that reservoir. And whenever you pump out whatever's in that reservoir, you can take off the reservoir, and with that pointy cone looking thing, you tap into the actual line where the reservoir is tapped into, that same line. And what you're going to do is you're going to pump that till every single last bit of bubbles come out, and your hose is going to be gravity pretty much. Bubbles are going to want to go up, so you hold your line up, and your whole line should just be full of fluid. And then you can go inside your car while it's in vacuum mode. You will go ahead and press your clutch pump it in and out, release any air bubbles that are trapped in. And what that's pretty much gonna do is bleed your clutch. You don't have to do anything else. And so whenever you're ready, you're still gonna be in vacuum. You're gonna hold your line up, and while you're looking at it and making sure that you have fluid, you're gonna start releasing your air, releasing that vacuum, making sure that it's sucking in fluid and not air. If you see any bubbles, you can stop the release of vacuum and hold it in vacuum for a second while those bubbles go back up on the tube. And you're just kind of like feeding it oil, feeding it, and then once you're at a complete no vacuum at all, you can just disconnect everything. You put your actual reservoir back on how it was. You fill up your reservoir, you give it a few seconds to let any bubbles come out from just that little hose, and you should have a good clutch, because I know these clutches are super hard to bleed. So this whole method worked for me. Everything absolutely checked out, and I haven't had any issues since. So I hope this video was helpful for some of you guys that are trying to do maybe a hardline conversion just for fun, or maybe those people that are struggling just like me in the same position with this stuck clutch and not being able to operate your vehicle.